So thank you so much for introducing me, Yasara-san. So I'm Yasuyuki Minamiyama from JPCOAR and National Institute of Informatics Research Center for Open Science and Data Platform at Japan. Today's my slide is now why now COAR community framework. Okay, let's start. First, welcome to Asia OS seminar series. Today's webinar title is Balancing Good Practices with Inclusivity, COAR Community Framework for Good Practice in Repositories. This seminar has been organized with the cooperation of Asia OA. Thank you so much for Asia COAR member. And I'd like to introduce our community before seminar introduction. JPCOAR, Japan Consortium for Open Access Repository, is a nationwide community for open access repositories and has been active since 2016 with 662 institutions. Of course, JPCOAR is a member of COAR. Okay, the main subject is from here, background, trustworthy data repositories. You may know that there are many efforts to develop trustworthy data repositories criteria, such as COAR Trust Seal, trust principles, and so on. These efforts seem to be slightly different motivations behind them, such as the reuse of research data or the prevention of data loss and more. And here, I'd like to point out some issues related to the repository evaluation criteria. So most of the existing evaluation criteria have been developing based on domain-specific repository practices. So these criteria have different philosophies and concepts than institutional repositories. In addition, recent movement by publishers, especially commercial publishers, has been promoted to this situation. One point in a recent topic, a joint position statement has been issued by leading related organizations, including COAR. And this statement indicates that some problems have arisen with the repository selection criteria proposed by the publishers. In this statement, you can find 6 concerns. For example, it threatens to exclude many repositories and limit options for researchers. What I'd like to address here is the need to have own evaluation framework that is consistent with the philosophies and concepts of the institutional repositories. Of course, the features of institutional repositories differ between institutions or maybe countries. The COAR community framework is a framework that encompasses these various types of repositories. This slide introduces some general features of the COAR community framework. First one, diversity. It was developed and vetted with a wide community of stakeholders, including smaller repositories. Next one is standardized. It is based on other recommendations and frameworks, including COAR Trust Seal, as I mentioned earlier. And another one is content agnostic. So this feature is a bit complicated. That means COAR Community Framework Working Group has extracted several core components from other requirements. As a result, it becomes non-colored framework in contrast of other frameworks. Sugawara-san will explain more detail of the individual requirements of this framework. And if you are interested in this topic, please visit the following useful blog post with Catherine Shearer on the OpenAIRE webpage. Okay, this slide is my final presentation. As you may know, the COAR Community Framework is developed in October 2020 and has been translated into 8 languages, including Japanese translation. As a next step, we need to verify and evaluate this framework based on the Japanese context. Now we are considering the following 3 steps. First one has been done, and next one, Sugawara-san will introduce the creation of a checklist that embodies the requirements of the framework. Next, step 3, Kawai-san will introduce the analysis and improvement based on the practical data of the checklist. Okay, my presentation is all, and the next speaker is Sugawara-san.